All right, there. The button says we're going. Welcome to the Curmudgeon in the Cellar XXIV. And boy, do we have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Hardly know where to begin. I'm a whole lot more burned out than usual after 4 days of the most amazing con I've been to in at least 5 years. Astonishing time I had. Got a lot of things to talk about tonight. GaryCon will be chief amongst them. But let's talk a minute about conventions in general, shall we? We're going to be mostly around about conventions tonight. But in specific response to a comment that I got on a previous Curmudgeon, the comment was to the effect that cons don't get to us, or cons don't get to our area or whatever. And if I was ever near and they used the slogan off their license plate, this person would be there, bells on. Okay, let's talk about exactly what a con is in its germ of a seed beginnings. First, what a con isn't is a traveling circus. A big one was once. Origins did travel, because it was also, besides being a big game convention, it was sponsored by GAMA, the Gaming Trade Association. So they took it from big city to big city to big city to get exposure, because this was in the days of the rising tide, and we were all glad to get whatever exposure we could get. That said, where do cons come from? Cons come from, pause for a moment, you may have to crack your volume up before this is all over tonight. It's liable to be a long one. And as you can tell, my voice is already somewhat ravaged. I'm pulling myself up. Somewhat ravaged by this weekend. Well worth the price. Well worth the price. So anyway, where do cons come from? Cons come from two gamers wondering if there are any other gamers around. I don't care if it's two people that play Ticket to Ride, two people that know each other, that play an RPG and know that they need more to play, or if it's two people that realize they both collect lead soldiers, or nowadays plastic, or whatever they're using nowadays. And they go, wow, I wonder if there's any more of us. And so you put up a flyer at your friendly local game store, or if you've been ordering your stuff mail order, go to your big grocery store and ask if you can put something up on their bulletin boards. Many, depending on the size of your town, there's many places where you could go and say, hey, attracting gamers. And having decided to do this, lay in place with a deal with a meeting room at your branch library, a spare room at the fire department, or in the basement of the police department, or wherever you can find, and see how many show. If nothing else, you and your friend are going to sit there and play boards all day. But you can also judge the interest by putting a phone number on there, or an email address on there, or something like that. That's how cons started. GenCon, which last year was the biggest game convention ever held in North America, started as 7 or 9 guys on Gary's back porch. Some guys from the game club up in Minneapolis, and some guys from the game club down in Lake Geneva. Hey, come on down, let's play games all day on my back porch. And they did that 3 times and started referring to it as the Geneva Convention, because again, game clubs did travel around just to get games against fresh people. And so thus, eventually, Gen Con was born 51 years ago. That's how game conventions start. When I moved here to Cincinnati in '81, they had they were pretty decent sized. And I came in, and with some of my friends, we kind of stepped in and we fanned the flames, and we got it up pretty good. And then we got tired of it. I mean, come on, time for somebody to step in after all those years. And it kind of floundered. But it's the remnants, the descendant of is going again. That's how you get conventions. You get 100, 200 people show up for a couple of years, and you look around wherever you live, and you pick out somebody that you think might be interesting, and you invite them to come. That's how conventions happen. They're made. It's similar to a similar situation. Excuse me. This may be a long night. I can relate to what that convention might do for you. Growing up through high school, I had one guy I played war games with. Nobody in nobody in high school. We played through the 8th grade. And then in the military, I met probably 3 more. And then I went to college and walked in one day to a room full of 12 or so, 15 perhaps, gamers. And wow, look at all these guys. And one thing led to another. First GaryCon, and an entire building stuff with gamers. So you might be surprised to find how many of us come out of the woods in your neck of the woods. And don't be afraid to if there's a place to advertise and at a reasonable distance, 30 miles away, or half hour, 45 minutes, don't be afraid to go to those places that might advertise, and where you might advertise. And because the chance to get together and play with and meet a bunch of new gamers is well worth a 45-minute drive, in my opinion. Of course, I just drove 6.5 hours to get to GaryCon, so I'm biased. All right, I have a number of notes I'm going to have to refer to tonight, and so I keep this on track. Let's see, where are we going to start one? Okay, got that one. All right. The special edition that I filmed with Jim Wampler. Well, Jim Wampler, his idea, his production, Curmudgeons and Cars Getting to GaryCon. It's a special edition of this channel. Don't look for it before April. We did about 46 minutes, and we have to edit that down. There's a couple F-bombs that got to get edited out, and not by yours truly. And there's a couple of names that we may decide to leave out. We were ranting on some known crooked people, and I think we may beep the names and then leave our lips unpixelated so that those of you that can read lips will know who we were talking about. Anyway, that was great fun going up. Let's see what else. And before I get into that, most people want to know, how it went on. Well, all right, let's talk about GaryCon. I guess I can't do it any longer. I can't put it off any longer. This will have go all night. First off, my thanks to Luke and Elise and Heidi and Cindy and Ernie, the Gygax Sibs, for the letting me be a part of this for 10 years and enjoying each other's participation a little more each year. That's been fun. And this was our best GaryCon ever. And I cannot think of a time that I had more fun in the last 4 or 5 years. And apparently it showed, because I had many comments on my appearance. Now, last year at GaryCon marked the almost low point of my battle with cancer. 2 weeks after GaryCon was my bottom out, severely dehydrated, back and forth to the hospital to get fluids and all that. And a couple of days where I didn't care if it was the end. And apparently I looked like it. Of course, everybody say, "Oh, you look so good." Well, I know that I look better this time. The enthusiastic greetings and everything were very, very heartwarming, and I was just glad to be there. Everybody seemed to be glad to be there. The place was banging right off the bat. All right, the numbers as I know them, and I'm rounding. Last year, 1,700. This year, 20. Pardon me, I'm holding it out. Suspense. 2,200. A 30% jump in 1 year. The only glitch, and I will talk about it, the only glitch was Thursday. The food service had no idea what they were in for. And having many, many years ago been in the hosting, I was a night manager in a hotel a long time ago. And I've been a cook in many, many restaurants. And a resort like this one, even though we were there last year, a resort like this one sees the word convention. A lot of conventions. Thursday's a trickle-in day. Fridays, lots of seminars and meetings and presentations and all this good stuff. And then drinks and party and dinner and stuff. And then Saturdays, morning stuff, serious stuff, then golf in the afternoon, and then the big dinner that night and whatever. And it's that trickle thing that fooled them, because they didn't realize that on Thursday morning at whatever, 10 o'clock when they opened the doors, GaryCon hit the floor running full bore. The kitchen staff was woefully inadequate in their numbers. I'm not talking about their professionalism or their skill at making a burger or anything like that. They were absolutely overwhelmed. Food was coming out ill-prepared, had to be sent back. They were drafting people from all over the entire resort, scrubbing them up and putting them in white jackets. And they got over it because Friday and Saturday were fantastic. And so for those of you who I was telling, please buy table service and got it on Thursday, you have my apologies. And it's probably all I'm going to be able to give you, but it got lots better. And that was the only glitch. The crew that runs it, Turbo and Mike No particularly, and Cliff, great guys. Even though Cliff was so worried I wasn't going to make it somewhere in time, they gave me a minder who was a very discreet young man, who, when I asked, "Are you still following me?" He said, "Cliff told me I had to." And he obviously feared Cliff Gould. And so I said, okay, fine. And then when I got to see Cliff, I asked him, did he send a guy around so the old man didn't wander off and fall in the lake and drown? But they wanted to make sure that I was there for the Hawaiian shirt picture. I told this late, and it's been a long several days. And I just said goodbye to my wife this afternoon. She's leaving for 6 days, so I'm going to be discombobulated. Anyway, Hawaiian shirt picture. They had Elise Gagax Cusino had a custom fabric designed and shirts made especially for GaryCon 10. They are magnificent. I was presented with one and just Wow, thank you. I will wear this Hawaiian shirt. I'm going to wear it a lot. I just put it this way, and I'm going to share it with you. Got to focus. Big dragon surrounding a Rolls and a Wisconsin barn and the islands of Hawaii. It just kind of sums up the whole vibe of GaryCon. And it's true Hawaiian shirt, no pockets, no worries, man. So again, I thank them for that wonderful gift. And as that gobsmacked me, I actually saw what everybody refers to as a gobsmack. It was my pleasure this year, my distinct pleasure, to present the Egregious Lifetime Achievement Award. As last year's winner, I got to present this year's. And I knew that as soon as I mentioned anything that this individual had done, the suspense would be over. So I blathered on about, well, first I actually did apologize for gaping like a fish last year when I was presenting, because again, I was, I didn't know how ill I was. And I was grateful to have the chance. And then, I spoke about how this individual had taken an hitherto unexplored niche of what we were doing and taking it to great heights and everything. And it was amazing the way Luke and I played off each other during this period of time, because I knew that Luke had memorized every single thing this person had done. I didn't want to. So it just worked out like we've been doing this routine forever. And he says, and kind of and I told the thing about how when I said to Jim, after I got it, and I said to Jim Ward, they better change the name of this to, oh my God, they're about to die. We better give them something, the award. Because when he got his, he was terribly sick. I got mine, I was terribly sick. And I said, well, actually, this year you'll be glad to know that we broke the mold. As far as we know, this person is quite healthy. And not only that, it's not a man. And I presented out the award right at Margaret Weiss. And I got to see a gobsmack. And this is in no way, I love Margaret to death. This is no way derogatory when I say a gobsmack looks like a physical, slight recoil of incredulity. And not only did I see it, but a couple of my friends who were standing behind me made the remark later that it was like, wow, you hit her. It was like you hit her or slapped her. And of course, she was totally stunned and thoroughly delighted. And then as I presented it to her, and then Luke stepped up, I stepped away, and he told all the things and enumerated all the amazing stuff she's done. And that went wondrously well. So that was great fun. Great fun. And I thank Luke at the Dead Dog Party for presenting me with the opportunity to see that gobsmack on Margaret's face. That's a memory I will cherish forever. That was great fun. Let's see what else we got here going. Okay. There was actually, I must congratulate the attendees. I only had the misfortune to run across one stinker. And I was kind of puzzled because he was wearing obviously a fresh shirt, non-rumpled pants, not smeared or anything, but but only the one. Almost made the automatic shut off on my scooter set off, but only the one. And that's an enormous improvement. And I certainly don't credit it to this, but I'm sure, I know that a whole lot of people have been talking about my soap and deodorant demonstrations. So maybe a couple stinkers saw it. All right, what else? Enormous crowd, super friendly. that's one of the vibes at GaryCon. And I commented on another thread earlier about cons and their feel, their vibe, and their. I really don't have a better word than that and vibe thing. And GaryCon has that old school, hi, nice to meet you. I've already known you for 100 years. Let's all get together and we'll figure out something to play. And sure, we'll watch your stuff while you wander off to get food or to go to the John or whatever, and you never have to worry about your stuff, being in case. Well, maybe I'm not the best example, I guess. There's about 12 or 14 scooters in use, but I didn't worry about forgetting something in my scooter basket if I had to leave it in the hall while I went into a room somewhere or whatever. Nothing ever got lifted or anything like that. Might be because I was too easily identifiable, but I don't think anybody had any problems like that. And GaryCon's had that vibe since the first, which it inherited from the Lake Geneva Game Convention, because the Lake Geneva Game Convention was a step back to what Gen Con was like in the beginning. Hi, we're all here together for these day or two just to be part of the family, part of the clan, part of the us, and we don't care if them don't understand us. And GaryCon has that. Sadly, some cons lose that, and it's usually because they hit a certain size. And no, I don't know what that certain size is. I don't know what the tipping point is. They hit a certain size and start growing again, and now it becomes rather commercial. It becomes very rigidly organized, programmed, because you have to pull something off like that. And when it gets to that point, I don't know. Obviously, all of us, all the cons, certainly all the ones I go to, have automated, registration computer and all that. It's not that point that makes attitude, I don't know, I guess you say the attitude perhaps starts to change. The culmination and the overkill is the reason that I never going back to Gen Con again. It's enormously huge, and it's taking your life in your own hands to go in the dealer area. It's now, to me, it's a whole lot more about the trade show and collectors scouring the auctions for stuff they're looking for. Not just D&D collectors, all kind of game collectors, because all kind of things come across that stage in the audience. There was a case of what I must call, well, to keep this friendly for work and PG, the most egregious troglodytic behavior. So, what? In its nature, when I heard about it, and then I heard about it, and then I heard about it from a third person, and then I went to the source and got it confirmed. Hold that thought. In the Curmudgeons and Cars, we do a long riff on Kickstarter and what Kickstarter is and what Kickstarter isn't. Kickstarter is not sending in your money to get a game. Kickstarter is investing in a plan to produce a game. It's an investment in a startup. That's what it is. If you invest in a Kickstarter that fails colossally and you didn't see if this person had other successful, or had run other scams in that, shame on you. If they had been previously successful at and then ran with the money, shame on them. But it's all about due diligence. So, having said that, we went way more detail in the car version. An individual showed up at a top secret game run by my friend James Carpio. James is an East Coast man that I worked with when we were both involved with Gygax Magazine. Fine fellow. Really involved in Top Secret and Gygax game or TSR Games, the company that's getting into all that stuff. And sweet guy. This individual showed up. Apparently, he was an unhappy Kickstart supporter. And James is trying to explain. Pardon me, I won't last otherwise. James is trying to explain that. And I love this explanation because it's true that they'd had a problem at customs. And, the individual, what kind of customs? He said, well, they suspected it might have had something to do with 90 cases of books stamped Top Secret. Guy just kind of apparently eyeball spun in his socket. So he signed up for James's game. Now, this is the individual named Vic, whose behavior resembles a word that rhymes with Vic. And yes, I know your last name, Vic. And he proceeded to try to trash James's game. Party wanted to do one thing, he wanted to do another. He purposely was an obstreperous annoyance. I strive so hard to keep this suitable for the 12 and 13-year-olds that I hope are watching. And for the dad of the young boy that was playing in the one game, when my last game and my filter was slipping with the occasional damn or hell or once in a while a shit, and I'd slip and I'd apologize. I do apologize once again. It was very late in the con and my filter had a bunch of holes you could swim up salmon through. But I used to be a teacher. I know better. I'm sorry. I got a little salty. So anyway, this individual just proceeded to be a troglodyte. No social graces, no nothing. A petulant, spoiled little baby. Vic, I invite you to sign up for one of my games someday. Please? Okay. That kind of a behavior has no place at a convention. If you have an issue with somebody, don't go to their game and sign up or not. Don't go to their game and ruin it, cause a scene, stink it. Because Vic, you didn't just ruin James's day. You ruined the day of all the other people who had signed up in good faith to have fun. I guess that makes you the turd in the punch bowl. All right. What do we have left to go? Oh, okay. Whole lot of people have been talking about these new games I'm running, and they want to know how it went and everything like that. And again, I can only state that I had more fun those 4 days than I've had at any occasion I can think of in the last 4 or 5 years. People were telling me that later, that every time they saw me zipping around on my little scooter, I was like glowing. Out and by the scooter, by the way, all joints, the ankles, the toes, they all work fine. The only reason I use a scooter at the cons, again, is because the distances walked make the bottoms of my feet burn like somebody's torching them. I had a ball. It was great. I was feeding on the energy. We had a wonderful time. Okay. I'm running 2 new games. The first one, I'll get to the one most of you don't care about first, but I'm so pumped about Dirt Track Saturday Night. I've been promoting it like a carnival barker, and so I got there and I had all 12 slots filled up, I was told, and standby. Well, and some people are learning, much to their chagrin, it happens to all of us. You always get a couple of no-shows. Pardon me, which is the purpose of the standby, right? And I didn't know what to expect. Got there, 12 people. Boom. Okay, let's go. Now, this is a game that is, well, it's different in that nobody has seen a board game, which I brought it up in scale as all. It's really, it starts as a board game. Nobody has seen a board game for late model stock car racing in the mud, in the dirt, on the dirt. There's nobody that puts one out in the States that I'm aware of. I've I've looked at every race. I like racing. I like the concept of racing games ever since I used to run in the Gen Con 24 hours of Le Mans that my car ran, and we raced for 24 hours. We had teams of 6 or 7 guys, and we divided up the racing shifts. And you might have gotten 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Oh well, sucks to be you. At least the 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. It's just an early morning for your day. Okay, I missed that. It was great fun, silly fun, simple. And so I'm always looking at racing games, and the one I found I love, obviously. I have an appalling, when I counted it up, I have an appalling amount of money invested in it. Oh God, yeah. I'm not going to think about that anymore. All right, I used a teacher trick. There's a method that involves peer learning, and the mechanics of this game are just a little foreign. You can move, turn, or then there's these maneuvers that you execute in the mud. Dirt track racing is all about the tires spin all the time. It's when they have and don't have traction. So I have all the maneuvers printed out on several sheets of cardstock so they can be spread around the table. And I lead them through the first couple of turns. And to be honest, my energy flagged there a little bit. I hadn't sucked down the rest of the energy drink. And there was a marvelous man that I want to thank now by his name, Thaddeus. I don't want to embarrass you. And to be honest, I can't remember your last name, damn it. Thaddeus, thank you so much for all the help you gave me with that game. Within 4 or 5 moves, the table was helping each other, showing each other moves. Hey, look, you could do this. You could do that. Peer learning. And Thaddeus, while I was kind of sitting to the side, recuperating, only called on me to make a judgment. Which of these cars is in the lead, that type of thing, for maybe 40 minutes while I kind of rebuilt my batteries. And he was, thanks, Thaddeus, you were a prince. And they learned, and they got it in the game. At just about any time during the race, there was anywhere from 8 to 12 people standing watching, not walking by, just, and oh yeah, standing and, oh, what is this you're playing? When we didn't get anywhere near the number of laps in that we hoped. And I learned a valuable lesson in a race where the track says full, shorter laps because yellow flags kill you. But they just, because I said so many laps are midnight, whichever comes first, unless 2/3 of the racers want to continue. And everybody says, hey, yeah, good, that's fair. Well, come midnight, it was okay. They didn't have to continue. No winner, because they were in the middle of a yellow flag restart. And to a man and women, because I had a couple in there, they didn't care and said thanks. And they had so much fun. And several of them asked, are you going to bring this to Texas? I am. Doug Ray has been so kind as to buy a map that I made and that I let the printer print. I don't care until there's a huge demand. Then I'll slightly, anyway, I don't give a damn. I'm not going to make money on another man's creations map. But yes, it's going to be a game hole. And I'm going to talk to Doug and I'm going to talk to Alex, if the word in the next few weeks gets out from these people about it and the people who are spectating that, I'll probably run heats like I used to do with the chariots, a couple of heats, then a feature. I think I may have found a new favorite fun, what we used to call beer and pretzels game. All right. I have no idea how long I've been babbling. I really don't care. Now we'll get to the games that I've been running. New game style for me. I may have told you this before, but I keep getting new people. Oh, another thing. Apparently, a lot of people watched the episode where I gave the tips about using story dice to do mental workouts. A bunch of people commented. One gentleman was much more direct in his appreciation. I was on a break out in the hall, and one of the games came up and told me, "Wow, I can't believe that was such a great tip you gave me and everything." And which one was that? And then it's about the story dice, and he thrust what looked like a package at me, and it was actually 3 boxes of them taped together. And he said he'd gone on eBay to look and picked up a couple, and then he saw these 3 all bundled together for a stupid price. So he bought them 2 at the same time, and he wanted me to have them, and I didn't have any of the 3 sets. And I was just delighted. And for those of you who didn't hear it before, simply this. Get some story dice. Any set will do, because it's about the quick thinking. And this will enable you to do someday what I did in all the games I'm about to talk about. Grab out 3 or 4 dice blind. Roll them. Make a hook. Roll them. Make a hook. Make an adventure hook out of those 3 or 4 elements. Make a hook. Pretend you're doing it for your 9-year-old niece or whatever. It's the facility, as in facile, the facility of your brain to put those disparate pieces together into a coherent, congruent narrative. Get good at that. Take 3 or 4, make an encounter. All the elements of the encounter. Because that's what I've been doing with my new adventures. I'm getting to be an old guy, and I don't always have the energy or sometimes the inclination to do a lot of hard work. So I came up with the universal setup for adventures, and that is this. All of you here today owe a very large favor to someone vastly more influential and powerful than you. You find yourselves here today to pay it back. There we go, and done. No story about the miller's daughter being chased by bugbears through the woods. Doesn't make any difference. For preparation, I bring pre-gens. That's all I have to do is print up sets of 8 pre-gens, and I have some blanks because I'll squeeze any game into 10. All right, I make up pre-gens. Here's the game. Everybody, hi, here we here to play. Great. Here, pick a pre-gen. Here's the spells that are prayers that are available. Here's a index card. Please put on there 2 things. And I go, well, what things? I go, well, that's up to you. 2 things, nouns, 1 word, or you can have a modifier. You can say like yellow pickle as opposed to pickle, but not barrel of beer that's really pissed. As one person did once. You put barrel of beer, and I might turn it into that, but no. So they put 2 things on. All right. The Wheel of Blame is a big railroad adventure. Keep going ahead because everybody's there. There's an overriding find something, which I'm not going to tell you about, and there's an overarching consideration that every player must find a key. I have these little wooden keys I was giving away, and the key would only work for the first person that touched it. So no taking dead guys' keys and getting out. And then my task is to take those cards and make them into the elements of the adventure. Now, I don't keep the cards. Oddly enough, every group has wanted to go, read the cards afterwards. Because they want to see what it was, maybe not themselves, they know what they gave me, what everybody else gave me, and then figure out what I did to it. Now, here's an anomaly I found curious. 3 times, someone put in bag of devouring. Twice, it got somebody a hand up to the wrist. Once, it got somebody an arm up to the elbow. Oddly enough, in the read the cards aloud afterwards, the guy that lost the arm up to the elbow realized that was his card. So some card ate his arm. I feel it's my bounden duty to take what you give me, put it into a fantasy, let's all go have fun, and twist it just as far as I possibly can. Somebody put in a vacuum cleaner. Okay, test me. I went Gary in playtest mode. I described it. Oh, that's interesting. There's a flexible hose of some sort over there. It's covered in fabric and it's leading off under the bush. And so they follow the hose, and it's attached to a big cylinder. It must be 16 feet long and maybe 3 feet around. And there's some kind of door on the back end, and on the top there's some buttons or levers or something, and it's resting on 2 silver, they must be sled runners, because that's what I do in this game. I boil it down to, you're just a dumb hick off the plains with a fire-hardened spear, and that's the way I'm going to describe. Well, much to my chagrin, I realized that when you're playing with a group that young, nobody is likely to recognize an Electrolux vacuum cleaner. They used to go around on the sled anyway. So, of course, they're going to pull the hose out and see what it is. So, of course, a switch or a knob is going to catch in the branches of the bush it's in. And honest to God, every time by die roll, of course, it's going to get turned on. And so somebody's going to get their arm sucked up the pipe, and then somebody trying to help them get their arm sucked up until somebody levitates and shuts them off. Oh, man, let me think a second on what some of the screwy stuff was we did. I didn't have any group hold hands and sing Frosty the Snowman, unfortunately. Oh man, somebody gave me circus peanuts, in parentheses, those orange, nasty, icky ones, and then Mr. Peanut dressed all in white, meaning that Mr. Peanut. Said, okay. So they found these crates full of these orange things that look like rations or something, and none of them make their saving throw against the compulsion to eat them. So they all eat they're actually large circus peanuts. So they all eat them until they're gorged and slow and fat and logy and nearly in diabetic comas. And then they see this guy coming up ahead, and I described him as, it's kind of got a head sort of like an hourglass, and his body kind of looks sort of like an hourglass, except it's kind of got spindly legs like a bug or a spider, and it's all white except its eyes are black. So what I did, so I took Mr. Peanut and made him into a voodoo doctor. And it was fun. We did a lot of silly stuff, and I'm so sorry I can't remember some of the great ones. I probably will over the weeks to come. Right now, I'm suffering brain burn. I do want to talk about another thing I just thought of, and that was Jim Wampler's. I will only call this I will only say this for the last time, Jim, because I meant it as fun anyway. What I call the celebrity humiliation game. And we played in DCC, Dungeon Crawl Classic. Now, you want to talk about an all-star lineup of trouble waiting to happen. On my left hand, Michael Curtis, award-winning author. On my right hand, Jolly Blackburn, astounding cartoonist, hackmaster, master, etc. Sitting next to him, David Diesel LaForce. Oh, talk about a murderer's row. And of course, anybody that knows about DCC, all these characters are real puny and cruddy to begin with. So you don't really go into there trying to live. You just want to have a good time until you die. At least I do. People that play it all the time, I'm sure, have other motives. Well, let's see. During the tours of that, there was 4 celebrities and 4 people that paid money to be drug into horrible situations and have awful crap happen to them willingly. And then there's people that paid money to spectate. It's amazing. Charity. All right, whatever. It's great. And we raised a buttload of money for the charity, over 10 grand. I'm proud to say I had a really healthy chunk of that and some stuff I found to donate. So anyway, back to the story. By the course of the night, the party of 8 had been reduced to, well, of the party of 8, one was a 4-eyed hawk, one was a 10-foot snake, one was a 96-eyed spider. How that happened is thief crawled up, tried to pry out a gem, a la the famous tramp picture, got knocked butt over tea kettle, and his whole body disintegrated. His eyes popped out. They're somehow connected and moved, sentient. His body was like in a comatose state, smooth and just breathing. that was a shock, let me tell you. So I figure, well, how bad, what's going on here? Well, he figures out that he can take over the hawk's body because it's dumber than him. So he goes over and he takes over. It was a hawk. It was part of something that came along in the course. So he takes over the hawk, and so now he's a 4-eyed hawk. So he's fly scouting, checking stuff out, flying for us. Well, silly me, I figured that surely the thief had discharged whatever awful thing had happened to that, on that stone. So I bent down to pick it up, and my eyeballs got knocked out of me. Now I was playing a dwarf at the time, and my eyeballs got knocked out. So now I'm eyeballs. Now, while we were eyeballs, I got to hand it to him for amazing props. While we were eyeballs, he handed us a sheet of paper that had a slit cut in it. We could not talk. We could not shake our head. We could only communicate with our eyeballs. And God loved Diesel LaForce. He bought into it, put his glasses on through it, and he played a good time looking around like that, just nothing. I had to do that for a while, and then one of my eyes got killed, so then I could only look at one eye, and that's when I took over the spider. As a desperation move, and now I had 95 more eyes. Wacko, great fun, laughed our fannies off. That's what charity games are all about. That's when I generally get to play on the other side of the screen. I don't mind being the butt of jokes. And I thought that when I saw the hawk take over something else, I thought, well, that's a pretty neat idea. I'll just make my spider die. So something happened, big pyrotechnic thing, whatever. So I logicked that, oh my God, that scared the devil out of me. I rolled a 20, I got a 3. And so I told Jim, oh, that bright flash just shorted out my eyes and I died of an aneurysm. Figured. I'll climb my one good eye that I'm reduced to. I'll go find something else, right? No, I died. So I was the first one to get the ka-chunk. He has a machine that shows you're dead, but I'll cherish that cheat. It's the only one I've ever kept that showed me dying. Great fun. That was a good time. Now, let's see. I completely sidetracked myself. Back to the games. I can say this about the games we played. Friday night, I got back to the room and I realized my sides kind of hurt. Yeah, I realized it's because we've been laughing so hard. So hard. I think I've hit onto this thing. We just play. We kill stuff, but more often we outthink stuff and trick stuff and stuff. And we're so stuff out of the box. All right, I got an anecdote for a game. Just came back to me. They probably will before I shut off. In one of my games, I was extremely honored. Mike Bell, way, way, way back when, D&D artist, played in my game, which was his first ever of any kind role-playing game. Now, you got to know Mike Bell to know that he and I came out of the same Curmudgeon pea pod. As it was, he got the thief. First weird task comes up. Thief, that's your job. Oh, well, okay. And he goes over and he performs it and it's successful. Encounter 2 later. Thief, that's your job. Huh? Yeah, it's your job. Yeah, well, okay. Goes over and does it. Of course, there's always risk involved. Did he bop it along a little while later? Oh, another job for the thief. And Michael, you do it. What is it? And I go, well, Mike, you really don't know how role-playing works because it's always the thief. I said, that's always why the thieves are always the first ones to level up. They mass points just for being thieves. Well, he wasn't having it. At that table, Mike Carr of Fight in the Skies. I don't recall Mike ever playing in one of my tables. Mike certainly has the chops, being the editor of the first edition AD&D. And a friend of his who came down came from somewhere away to play in the big Fight in the Skies game. Mike's wife was there, who I got to meet for the very first time. So at this game, during this game, her character came up to her, one of those cruxes. And I said, well, looks like it's the shit or crit time. And I showed her the die that I got from Cosmo Joe at D66 that has the crit on one side. The skull is actually composed of the letters. And on the one, there's a little turd. And she thought it was just hilarious. And I showed it to her. So Cosmo's boys gave me a couple. I went and tracked her down in the restaurant. I said, here, I wanted you to have this as a memento, your very own shit or crit die. Freaked her out. Oh, thank you very, very much. So Mike took the time to introduce me to a friend of his that wanted to meet me, and then introduced me to his wife, and then to the rest of the table. The mythical Tim Kask. And I said, and this is the mythical wife, because I had never met his wife after all these years. Everybody had a good laugh, and she had a memory to take home of her shit and grit die, which she'll probably throw in a junk drawer. And 20 years from now, her descendants will be digging all that stuff out going, where the hell did that come from? What else? I really don't have anything else on the list. I'm trying desperately to think of some of the... It's really hard to single out any of the salient venture parts because honestly, God, we just laughed our fannies off the whole time, which is just what I was looking for. It's D&D, yeah, but it's the way it was meant to be. Don't get bogged down in the rules. The story is all, and the players write the story. I've refined this since I started doing it, and I first saw Frank doing this. And I sat in for maybe an hour total on a couple of games. I do mine differently. At first, I was cherry picking the items and pairing them up or tripling them up that way. And I thought, well, that's kind of easy. So now what I do is I take each page I get, each card, those two things will be in the next encounter. The beauty of this game is 2 things per player. 6-player game, 6 encounters. 8-player, 8. 10-player, well, yeah, that can be interesting. I also give out the universal antidotes to the number of half the number of players. So half the number of players starting can make a really ill-advised or unlucky choice and still play some more longer after they drink the elixir. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to run any kind of games, but this kind of stuff where you, the players, spin it, make it go wherever. I can take anything you give me and describe it in a way that you're going to scratch your head. And in this new game, there's only one meta rule. If it's your card, be quiet. If it's your card, don't be, hey, mate, that kind of looks like a... No. And you know what? I don't believe anybody violated it the whole time. I ran 4 games, 31 players altogether, and I don't believe anybody did it. I'm sorry, there's so many cards. Again, maybe in weeks to come, I'll make some memories and them. I'm not going to keep them for the same reason. I'm not going to make them stale. Now, remember earlier I said something about dice, and I'd refer to them back later. All right. The purpose of those exercises was story dice, make a hook, make an encounter. When you get good at that, you can do what I do with confidence, and that is make shit up and nobody is the wiser while it happens. And on that encouraging note, I think I'll wrap up this night's Curmudgeon XXIV. Good night.